All right. Good morning, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining me this morning. We have a total of 3 viewers right now, so that's good to know. But I know that a lot of folks are also viewing this later today, or if there's nothing on TV, they actually watch it over the weekend. Welcome to Mornings with the Manager. As always, a few points of interest for you. I hope they are interesting for you. As you can tell, the last 2-3 days we had quite a severe winter storm here. We expect some more rains coming over the next few days, and actually the outlook into next week also promises us a few more rain showers. As always, we have created a website here that we is called Storm Center webpage, and on that webpage you can receive a lot of information. Please go to monterey.org /emergency, and you will find a lot of information there. All our fire stations also have sand and sandbags if you want sandbags to protect your property, and a lot of more information is posted on the website. The winter storm brought a lot of rain. I think we were fortunate not to have major challenges. There was an outage caused by a tree that fell over. I read on Nextdoor some folks were saying it was a lightning strike. We don't think so. It was more or less a tree falling over that led to an explosion of a transponder, and that transponder gave out probably the spark that some people might have seen in the middle of the night and thought it was a lightning strike, but it was, as far as I can tell, not a lightning strike. So what you see on Del Monte is caused by a tree which fell over and hit power lines. We had a short power outage that night, 2 nights ago. So the tree situation also is we had some private trees on private property that had challenges. The city trees, as far as I know, there was only one tree that had an issue. And other than that, the storm water infrastructure was holding up. The tunnel, which is actually a large part of our stormwater management, was pumping a lot of water out, and as well as the storm drains were emptying out again at wharf number 2, and also at the Twins, as we call them, at the rec trail, where we also have 2 large pipes that allow the rainwater to drain back into the bay. Everything else, so far so good. Fingers crossed. We need certainly the rains, and I encourage you to maybe follow a little bit the state statistics there to see how our reservoirs are filling up, hopefully over the next weeks. Snowstorms are also expected in the Sierras, and their melting water is part of the aquifer and system to basically transport water into some of our water reservoirs. So keep an eye on that. It's interesting to see how the numbers go up. I want to talk to you about something that some of you might be following, and that certainly we follow here at the City of Monterey very closely. That is the work that the MBAC board is doing right now to determine the next set of regional housing needs assessment data. And what they basically do is they set objectives for the next 5 years for the individual cities and also for the county. And they tell cities with that allocation how many housing units have to be built to ensure that there is a sufficient housing supply. And we all know that the housing supply across the state is not sufficient. We know that because we see the increases in rents and we see the increases in property values, how houses are being sold or apartments are being sold, all those numbers are going up. So the MBAC board is working very hard to come up with a new set of RENA numbers. We have some concerns here about the methodology that is being applied. just because it doesn't have a lot of value if you bring the numbers up to a very, very high number if we do not have a chance to deliver on those promises. The issue is water, and Esther, that's exactly the point I was trying to make. My input to the MBAC board is that we have about 600 units that we can build right now. These are the properties on Garden Road, and these are the properties that the city is negotiating right now with affordable housing developers. But we don't get the water, and so my caution to the MBAC board remains to be conscientious about those allocations, because they are raising a lot of hopes, especially by our housing advocates that are really asking to get more housing, more affordable housing, specifically onto the peninsula or into the region. And if somebody reads that city of Monterey potentially has to build 5,011 housing units, people will have hopes. And what the board is not delivering is that they basically are not making it abundantly clear that you cannot put those numbers out without delivering the water. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws in the current methodology. The other flaw in the methodology is that if you bring up the housing numbers to 5,011 for Monterey, as it's currently being discussed, you have to find the space to do those buildings and to get them done. And everybody knows in the city of Monterey, we currently have about 13,000 housing units, plus minus a few hundred. 5,000 adds a lot of numbers to that, and will add about 15,000 people into the city of Monterey if you think that each housing unit is occupied by statistically 2.94 people. So the challenge in all of that is that once those numbers are published, you see already in the newspaper that the Attorney General for the state of California has created a special task force that will hold cities accountable for actually ensuring to develop those housing opportunities. And while that is a good idea, because you want to be sure that what is being promised and what is being so ordered by the state as housing goals, you want to ensure that the cities are not blowing anyone off, but that they are actually building that housing. But what this will do to a city like Monterey is, if we do not have the water for that, what will happen potentially is that our state legislature will say, okay, cities who are not building enough housing according to the RENA goal, you will not get certain state grants, you will not get certain state funding, or we punish you by taking percentages away from you. So it will be very, very, it is a very rocky road ahead of us. And so when you hear that the city of Monterey is talking to MBAC about certain factors and certain elements, we're coming from the space, or from the place that we have right now infill opportunities. Everyone is happy about this. There are no neighborly concerns out at Garden Road, for instance, but we don't get the water. And so the challenge that I see really is that there is a conflict between what well-meaning groups want to create and what we actually can do over the next 5 years. And again, I ask you to stay tuned. If the number of 5,011 persists and we don't get additional water, that will be just an aspirational number and has really zero meaning for us, because we cannot provide those infill opportunities that we have. Flip side also is, if there is sufficient water, you will have those units being built in a lot of neighborhoods, and you will see that buildings might be converted into 6-story buildings or higher buildings, just to ensure that we are having the ability to build those affordable units. So what's going on there is a lot of complexity in those discussions. The MBEC board last week was not able to make a decision yet. And they will meet again in early January. I encourage you to stay engaged and follow those discussions and make sure that water is not being treated as, oh yeah, there is a water issue, but you guys need to figure it out. We're trying to figure it out for a long time, and the latest attempt was to ask the State Water Resources Control Board to get 25 acre-feet of water out of the existing water allocation that we have in our district for housing in the city of Monterey, and that effort to get the water has fizzled out. There's no one there who wants to step up to the plate and give us the water, despite great efforts by a coalition led by Senator Laird, who was very engaged with that and really tried to help us. So we're continuing to try to get that water, but water remains one of the biggest stumbling blocks to get affordable housing there. And my fear is that if the RHNA numbers are too high, too aspirational, the state will come down hard on a city like Monterey, and we will lose state funding for many services that right now depend on offsetting our cost with state funding. So stay tuned on this topic. It is not really in the public eye yet, but it has impacts on all of our lives over the next 5-10 years. I want to talk about districting. That's the other big, large topic that we are working on. The districting is progressing. We have already received maps that residents have sent in. Go onto the website, have your say Monterey, have your say Monterey, and look at email correspondence or look at drawn maps. They are actually presented also, I think, as a separate item you can look up. The maps that were drawn are interesting maps, and also they show you also how to use the map tool that we published last week, and just play with it. Take a look at them and get familiar with them. I'm not saying these are the maps we will use. Of course, there's still a lot more to do to finalize maps and bring them forward to the council for decision making. But once you see those maps that already some residents have sent in, you understand a lot better what kind of systematics can be used, what kind of rationales are being used according to the system put in place. I shared with you that last week Tuesday we spoke about that, and what was important at that meeting was that we also told the council right now we are on track. We do not need yet an extension. I know some of you are interested in getting an extension. What we will do though is we will use an extension if we feel it is necessary, if we feel that not a lot of feedback has been coming back from the community. What we learned also from the demographer is that as soon as the first maps are being published or are being officially discussed in front of the council, then a lot more people become engaged because it becomes more concrete for them. So having said all that, check out the website, check out the maps that have been drawn there, and you will see what is possible. Let me think about districting. That was all what I wanted to share with you about districting right now. Again, if you have questions or so, shoot me an email or ask me. We had 18 participants at the community forum on Thursday. Like I said, we are surprised that there is not a lot of more public input after a lot of notifications we send out. It might, like I said, it might or possibly it will increase once the first maps are drawn, and people are catching on onto that and want to make their voices heard. So again, we continue our massive outreach. Sometime today or tomorrow, you should have a postcard from us in your mail to look at that. Uh, the, uh, the next item I wanted to talk about last week, Tuesday, was also interesting for several other reasons. Another reason was that we approved a change to the specific plans and the general plan to allow housing or residential units in commercial districts on the first floor. There's a lot more fine-tuning inside the existing regulations. Certain blocks, for instance, on Alvarado Street, are exempt from that rule because the Planning Commission, of course, wanted to ensure that Alvarado Street remains a business street, also with shops fronting it. But you can foreseeably put a store, you foreseeably can put a residential unit behind stores now on the first floor. And so that can and will increase housing opportunities. We know of at least one site right now who they are very interested in pursuing that option. So that was approved on Tuesday night, and we hope that some of our property owners that they will convert some of their commercial properties that they really cannot rent out, or that they have designed way too large, and that they will make their shop spaces smaller and then create living spaces in the back end. Again, a lot of those things will depend again on the water and setting water meters and all those things that we seem never to be able to get a solution through our elected officials who are ruling over the water management district. So stay tuned on that topic as well. Last but not least, also we approved a few other contracts last Tuesday. One of them is probably the second largest resurfacing contract that the city ever approved, $4.4 million. That money will go mainly into Old Town, into the neighborhood around Old Town, and resurface streets there. We've done already a lot in New Monterey, in other neighborhoods, and we keep plugging away. Remember, Measure P, Measure S is on the books until March 2027. So until then, we will have all the 1% sales tax that will go directly into road resurfacing, into city sidewalks and storm drains, and also ADA improvements. So that was awarded on Tuesday night. Another large award went to a 5-year contract, went to the police for a replacement of the body-worn cameras as well as the tasers. Both are up for renewal. I can tell you that the body-worn cameras, which we were using, were of the first generation kind, meaning that we had to back up all the camera footage on our servers. The new system that we will starting to implement in January, February will be all cloud-based. So all the footage that the officers are recording will be saved into the cloud. And with that, also a lot of work on the back end that was done by our information technology people, personnel, falls to the wayside. There's still work to be done, but we don't have to physically store all the data. And you know, if you take a photo with your iPhone, how much space this already take. Now think about 10, 20 minutes of interactions videotaped and stored. That's huge amount of data that we don't have to store anymore, that will go into the clouds. The issue with the tasers was the same. The tasers that we had are not serviceable anymore, and you couldn't get parts for that anymore. And so we are also replacing those over the next 5 years. So it's a 5-year contract. I think the police will have everything up to snuff within the first half of 2022, and then we will continue using that vendor for 5 years with everything getting replaced if it breaks. So that was an important contract that was awarded as well. And last but not least, we adjusted the fees. We raised the fees for parks and recreation. There's one objective behind that. We want to recover some of them. We want to recover and retain that fee increase to put it into the facility reserves for recreation. So if you go to the sports center and you pay $5, the increase it will be 25 cents or 5%. Those 25 cents or the 5% per ticket or whatever the services you purchase from the Parks and Rec department, those 5% will go into a special account, and we will use that special account for the facility reserve, for the maintenance, for the replacement of certain parts or of buildings, elements that have to be replaced. The biggest item right now in the sports center is probably the dehumidifier. That's basically a big machine that sucks out the moist air over the swimming pool and ensures that nothing steams up in there, because you imagine that the pools that we heat in the high 70s and in the 90s, the small therapeutic pool on the left-hand side, a lot of steam comes out of that, and so that moisture has to be collected. Like in a house, when you have a lot of moisture in your home, you have a dehumidifier. Take this for the sports center, and we're talking about $300,000-$500,000 pieces that have to be replaced. So that is a good approach to put some of the money and create reserves, and that facility reserves, and that will be only spent on in parks, park centers, and sports centers. So that's going that. The same question, Esther, that you asked prior to that. There are a lot of grants out there. You will see next week, Tuesday, we will ask to get a $170,000 grant from the state, which is based on per capita. The question that Esther's asking about Laguna Grande Park, yes, we will apply for grants. The challenge is that a lot of the grants also are being allocated to communities less affluent than the city of Monterey. That plays a role. Whether we are eligible or not depends also on the level of affluence in the city. And the city many times is not eligible because we have just a huge amount of parks already in the city. And the state wants to allocate funding also into areas where there is a real shortage of parks. We have in Monterey, in the city of Monterey, 30 plus parks. You never have to walk a lot to get to a park area in Monterey, and that restricts the eligibility criteria. The second for the Laguna Grande Park also is we need to develop first a concept, which is what we are working on. And then once we know what we want, we can also target better the grants. So yes, we are looking out for grants. You will see one coming forward next week in front of council. That's a general grant that we can use for things, whatever we want to do. And we'll see how we might possibly get additional grants for certain parks like Laguna Grande Park. Absolutely. A few smaller items I want to share with you. Today starts the statewide mask mandate. You heard about it. The state of California is requiring again for our residents to wear masks indoors when you go shopping, when you go to restaurants. You got to wear masks indoors. There's an exception. There's always an exception, which is City and County of San Francisco. They claimed that they are doing so well, and the state acknowledges that they have vaccination rates in the low to mid 80%, and the city of San Francisco is exempt from the mask mandate indoors for their sports facilities and gyms. Um, Other than that, you will see that across our city again. Here in the city facilities, we have a mask mandate in effect since I cannot even remember. I want to say even June again that we started bringing this up again. So um, things in the sports center will not change because we already had a mask mandate inside there. So be aware when you go shopping now. Probably you all are doing it already. Wear your mask. It's also now required by the state. Yes, we stopped doing vaccinations now for between now and January. There will be no vaccination clinics anymore at farmers market. We'll pick it up again in January. We have Hollywood holiday food drive coming up. If you or one of your neighbors are eligible or like to get be part of that food drive, it will be again organized by the Kiwanis and by the Food Bank of Monterey, and I believe, and of course our Parks and Recreation Department. You can reserve a spot at monterey.org/REC recreation, and you can get assigned a time, and then you drive through the youth center and you get a holiday food drive there. Yeah, Esther points that out, and thank you, Esther. If you need a booster shot, it's straightforward. There are many opportunities now to get the booster shots. We are surrounded by Safeway and CVS and Walgreens and many other opportunities. If you feel you need a test for COVID-19, also I want to really recommend Virus Geeks. Virus Geeks are located in the Alvarado Mall next to the Portola Hotel, or inside the Portola Hotel, where they usually have Pete's Coffee. The Virus Geeks do a full-blown PCR test at no cost to you, and you have the results back usually within 8 to 12 hours. They text you the results. So that is, in my humble opinion right now, a very convenient option for anyone in the city. Walk-ins are accepted. You don't have to make an appointment, and you get at 10, 11 o'clock a text from them telling you how your PCR test went. So testing will remain important for all of us. All right, let me just see one more thing I have written down here, which is February 26th is the greatest event for everyone who ever touched a book in the Monterey Library. It's the chocolate and wine drive-through event. So it will not be hosted in person, but it will be a drive-through event. Pencil it into your calendar, February 26th. I just smile a little bit because it's a chocolate and wine drive-through benefit. So I would strongly suggest do not drink wine while you're in the drive-through and then cross the street and see our police station there. So I think we need to change the marketing slightly there. But it's a great event. It's organized by the Friends of the Library, and it's a huge fundraiser for our library. And of course, I strongly recommend to pencil it in. So that's it for this year. In my mornings with the manager, I had quietly hoped that we would have had an opportunity to hold the meetings again out there in the library and to chat and have face-to-face communications. Looks like we will stay in this hybrid virtual reality for a little bit longer. I thank you for all your support. I thank you for all the questions you're sending us. And I want to tell you I appreciate every single one of your comments and inputs. We think about it, and we take them to heart. I want to thank also our city staff for another year that they worked through a lot of challenges. I wish you all happy holidays. Stay safe, stay connected, and I'll see you, probably some of you next week, Tuesday, at the council meeting, and maybe some at First Night Monterey, and probably a lot more again next year. So all of you, thank you, stay healthy, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.